All right, my friends, welcome back to All Cars. I am John, and it is time for another Motorweek Retro Review reaction. And this week, it is going to be the 1995 Toyota Celica Convertible. And so, since I think it annoys some of you when I say, hey, this one's probably going to be positive, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think this one's going to be kind of positive. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the Celica. I'll try to dig into it a little bit more as we go through the video, but the fact is I've always kind of liked the Celica. I certainly respect it, but I've always found their styling kind of goofy. This one in particular is possibly the worst looking of them, but none of them have ever stirred my loins like, say, a Prelude did. But I've always kind of respected it, and several times in my life I've been like, well, why don't I just get one? I just never have. Kind of a cool car. Let's see what Motorweek said about it when it was brand new.
Week is made possible by Lucas Oil, Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, and TireRack.com.
As the warm weather gets hotter, automotive minds almost naturally yearn for the open-air driving experience that only comes from a convertible. No T-tops will do or Targa roof. In fact, you only have to drop a rag top on a 90-degree day to understand there are no substitutes for a true convertible, one like this Celica Convertible. Absent from Toyota showrooms last year, it's back now and cooler than ever. Yes, there's nothing quite like a cool convertible in the summertime. So Toyota fans will surely celebrate the return of the Celica Convertible. Available only in GT trim, the stylish 95 Celica ragtop provides everything that we liked in the last model.
So I'll say right here, I kind of like the lines of this. Overall, I kind of like the lines. It's a little dull, and like many automobile designs, right, it kind of has shades of other things. Around the back, when you look at the taillights, there's a hint of Miata in it. There's a hint of something else I can't put my finger on. My mind wants to go to Aston Martin, but that's not quite what I'm thinking here. But overall, I think this is an okay looking car, except for the front end. Now, it's got a little bit of Lexus SC in it, but those ovoid headlights, those inset headlights, they're set back really deep. It just doesn't work for me. This looks a little bug-eyed to me. And it's kind of a shame because, first off, I do think it kind of ruins the look, the exterior look of the car. But there's a little bit of a hint of the same kind of thing Mercedes was doing with headlights, circular and then circular. It looks like the cut rate version of a more prestigious car. I'm just not a fan of the front of it, but the rest of it, honestly, from the headlights back, I think this is a pretty handsome, if a little boring styled car.
Offers a few improvements. The most significant of these is where it counts most, in the 3-layer power top fitted in the U.S. by conversion experts ASC. When up, its excellent fit and solid glass rear window provides superb all-season weather protection, and its slim profile means smaller than average rear blind spots. But it's the ease of operation, involving little more than releasing a couple of simple latches and hitting the down switch, that drew the most praise from our staff. The simplified one-piece flexible rubber boot attaches pretty easily and stays attached. Amazing. But it also takes up most of the compact trunk, forcing you to choose between it and luggage.
Well, hold on here. So first off, that's a pretty handsome top. For this level of car, it's interesting that somebody not Toyota is doing it, but they managed to do a really good job. Now, I don't know anything about ASC. I'm not trying to diss them, but when you think about all the British or Italian convertibles and their fussy tops, and they even make a comment about the cover on it actually staying in place, sounds to me like Toyota going to somebody and then holding them up to a standard. Maybe that shouldn't be a surprise, but it sounds to me like they are a little surprised. Handsome, simple, electric. I think maybe the electric wasn't necessary. In my perfect world, hey, I just lay it down manually and not have to have the weight of the motors. They did criticize the trunk size because of how much space you have to have for the actual top going down, but that trunk looked pretty big, very high liftover. I don't know if they're going to come back to that or not. Very high liftover, very un-Japanese. But there's nothing wrong with the size of that trunk if you're using this as a daily driver and then you want to go up to the mountains or go on vacation or, you know, go away for a few days. Not a bad option so far, right?
Passenger space, however, is not a problem thanks to an adult-sized rear seat. While further forward is the typically Toyota-efficient cockpit that we praised when the current Celica arrived for 1994. The standard cloth-covered bucket seats are firm but very supportive, and a tilt wheel is standard equipment. Both steering wheel and passenger side dash house standard airbags, while the driver faces the Celica's clear but sparse analog gauge cluster. Other controls, such as our test car's top-grade CD and cassette stereo and straightforward ventilation controls, are absolutely foolproof. Even minor convenience features like the dual cup holders and plentiful storage space are well thought out. Toyotas are known for being well thought out.
Before we go on to the engine, let's talk about that interior for a minute. So fans of the channel, you know what I'm going to say. I don't like black interiors. I don't like dark interiors. I understand why. My Jeeps that have been convertible, they've always had black interiors. I think Toyota there's one thing about it that I can't stand, but I think Toyota did a really good job because when you think about, and this isn't a pure sports car, right? This isn't a Miata or an MGB, right? But when you look at this, good back space. You know, you could put people back there, like if you were going out to lunch with some coworkers or something, if I had coworkers. They've got little nooks and crannies they've worked in. They managed to find cup holders. They had a meaningfully sized glove box. I like it. I like it. And you know, when they do these retro reviews, they like to say clear but sparse gauges. And yeah, auto reviewers want more and more information on the gauges. First off, other than water temperature, I'm not terribly concerned about what's going on because I trust the Toyota engine. But other than that, I would rather have a big speedometer that I can actually see than a smaller speedometer with a bunch of stuff around it. It's one of my complaints about my wife's car is the gauge cluster is not small, but because they put so much information on it, it all gets a little small. And well, when I was 20 and 30, it didn't matter, but as I've gotten a little bit older, it matters more. So this really appeals to me, honestly, as just overall as functioning as a car. What I don't love, and it's a pretty minor complaint, I've got to tell you, the dash is a little cut up, you know, but it's asymmetrical. It drove me up the wall just to watch that little section, that center console there, and then it kind of whoops to a point, and the vent on the left, it's not in a square area, it's kind of kidney shaped almost, and then the HVAC controls that they showed, you know, a knob and some buttons off to the side, everything's just not symmetrical. I'm not really OCD, but that kind of really jumped out at me. I question whether if I owned this car for years, that would just all kind of fade away, or if it would continue to pick on me.
Under the hood as well, with 130 horses and 145 pound-feet of torque, the Celica's familiar 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine isn't very powerful or especially refined, but its strong reputation for reliability easily helps make up for shortcomings. A 0 to 60 time of 9.1 seconds, thanks to almost 200 pounds more mass than its hardtop kin, was still acceptable, as was a quarter-mile time of 16.9 seconds at a terminal speed of 81 miles per hour.
I mean, I don't know what to say. Decent. You know, not earth-shattering, but decent.
The slick 5-speed manual transmission certainly helped. A 4-speed automatic is available too. But there's only one suspension, and it's a very good one. McPherson struts up front and dual links in the rear made for responsive handling. Minimal front plow and strong steering feel delivered reassuring directional stability. While there was noticeable convertible body flex during rapid switchbacks, it didn't upset the well-balanced chassis. Or the performance of the four-wheel disc brakes with optional ABS. They stopped our Celica from 60 and 125 feet in a smooth, straight form. Out on the road...
And again, there's no drama here, right? That's the biggest takeaway, is you have a car that's a little sporty, a little more engaging than, say, just your standard car. It's not earth-shattering. It's not something that, oh my gosh, this is an amazing, what an incredible pocket rocket. There's a lot here that I'm watching this and I'm thinking, like, other than Toyota reliability, I'd rather have a GTI. But it handles fine. It seems to ride fine. We'll hear more in a minute. And it stops fine, not earth-shatteringly great. It just does everything with a really high degree of competence, which is kind of what you expect from Toyota, because it's that level of doing everything just pretty darn well that means that there's not something that annoys you later on and wants you to get rid of the car. I'm not excited by the car, but I'm impressed.
The Celica Convertible's chassis flex was less evident than on the track, and well-thought-out aerodynamics meant less air turbulence in the cockpit than many other soft tops.
I'll tell you what it looks like to me, just a little bit. That straight-on shot right there reminds me a little bit of some old TVRs.
But its aggressive looks and sporty handling still make you wish that you had a few more horsepower. More horsepower can mean higher fuel consumption, however. The Celica Convertible is EPA rated at 22 city and 29 highway. With a light touch, you can even manage 30, as we did. And saving a few pennies on gas will help, since the bill for the Celica Convertible starts at $23,998. All up, our well-optioned test car came in at a stout $27,172. That's thousands more than you'll pay for ragtop competitors like Mustang and Camaro, but priciness has rarely deterred the Toyota faithful. And a long list of safety features, including dual airbags, seatbelt pretensioners, available anti-lock brakes, and 5-mile-per-hour bumpers, will certainly make the Celica Convertible even more of a no-brainer to them. But even if you're not already a Toyota fan, one drive in the latest Celica Convertible will probably make you one. Our friends at Automobile Magazine obviously agree. They describe the Celica Convertible as a wonderful low-key pleasure machine, one that compares favorably with any low-powered 2+2 drop top on the market. It's capable, comfortable, and superbly designed. And it's a Toyota. Need we say more?
Interesting. Yeah, what the car needs is more power. It's interesting they kind of talked backhandedly about the chassis flex in it. It seems to ride okay. Again, a car that just generally does everything well without really the power to get you in trouble or to overwhelm the chassis. There were times in my life where a car like this appealed to me. Whether it was the smaller ones like the Nissan NX series or even the Paseo to a lesser extent. This and a Prelude, and this never really made it in the mix. Again, I always found myself in a position where I was like, hey, why don't I just get one of those? But it could never rise to the top of something I really wanted to put my money down on. I will say that this body style has aged very, very well. I can say with some certainty that I think this body style, it will never reach a classic, right? We're not talking about a Jaguar here, but it's aged extremely well. And I like it more than I did in the 90s. And overall, this just strikes me as a car that if you want something a little more interesting than a two-door sedan, like, you know, taking that Oldsmobile Calais I did a few weeks ago, a retro review on, a little smaller, but more interesting, more engaging. It just needs more engine. It'd be cool to have this with a turbocharged engine in it. I don't know what else to say about it, except that they were talking about comparing this to a convertible Mustang or a Camaro, and no. To me, those are very, very different. Other than having the convertible for posing and being seen in it and enjoying the open sky, I just don't see many Mustang fans being like, yeah, I want a front-wheel drive Toyota. And that leaves me with the price of, that sounds steep to me. It really does. And while anytime I would have looked at these, it would have been used. I never would have considered one of these brand new. Probably it was partially the price that just for smaller back seats and a smaller trunk, I probably can almost certainly say I would have ended up with something more practical, because that's just how I'm wired. But it's cool to watch this one because I respect the car. I kind of miss cars like this. I know Toyota and Subaru have got their offerings right now, but those don't really do it for me in spite of how excellent they really are. This one, man, I just think it's gotten better with age. Let me know what you think below, guys. Thanks for being here.